Hi Math 3 students. So today we're going to go ahead and go over some more right triangle trig. So this is kind of an extension of the SOHCAHTOA ratios. But now instead of just finding the ratio, we're actually going to use that ratio to either solve for a side or solve for an angle. So before we even get started, you need to go grab your calculator. So you do need a working good calculator for this. So if you do not have a working good calculator, you need to work on getting that this weekend. So what you have to do is you're going to go to mode, and you're going to go down and turn it, excuse me, turn your mode to degree. All right. Degrees and radians are two different ways of measuring kind of the angles. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move it to degree mode. All right, now that that's done, let's go ahead and talk about what we're actually going to do today. So we're first going to solve for the angle of a triangle. So we're going to use the sine, or I should say the inverse trig functions. And I would write these down. You have sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse. So it still follows that SOHCAHTOA, but because we're solving for an angle, we're going to need to use the inverse function. So let's go ahead and try that out here. So here we're trying to solve for an angle. And we have to figure out which two sides we have in relation to this angle specifically. So I look, and this is opposite. And then this guy is my hypotenuse. So I know I'm going to have to use sine. So I'm going to go sine inverse of, and then my opposite, which is 37, over my hypotenuse, which is 53. So we're going to go ahead and over to our calculator. We're going to go second sine. So this is very important. Instead of just using regular sine, you're going to do second sine. And you're going to do 37 divided by 53. And your angle is, we'll just, does it say what it to round to? To the nearest degree. So we'll round that to 44 degrees. Beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and try another one of these. So again, we have to figure out which angles we're given here. So this is my opposite. And I know this guy's my hypotenuse, so this guy's got to be my adjacent. So I have adjacent and hypotenuse, so we're going to have to use cosine. So let's do cosine inverse of, and we're going to do our adjacent, which is 43, over our hypotenuse, which is 46. So we can go out and do second cosine. Ooh, I apparently didn't click second. Second cosine, and it should come up like cosine inverse like that. And then you're going to do 43 divided by 46. And the nearest degree here would be 21. All right. So remember, when you're solving for an angle, you need to go ahead and use the inverse trig functions. Now, what do you do when you're solving for a side? And I guess I probably should have pointed this out at the beginning of the video. This method only works when you're dealing with right triangles. There are different ways to solve for angles and sides when you don't have a right triangle, but we're not quite there yet. We'll get there eventually, though. So when you're solving for a side, you're going to go ahead and we're just going to use our regular trig function. So we're going to do sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now, these guys are the degree measure of that angle. All right, so that theta symbol, you're going to put the degree measure in there. And this is why it's so important that your calculator is on the correct mode. All right. So make sure that you're doing these with me and making sure that your calculator is in the correct mode. Because if you go to take this test and your calculator is in the wrong mode, you're going to get all the questions wrong. So you don't want that to happen. So make sure you follow along and have a good calculator. If you do not have a good calculator, you need to come talk with me ASAP. All right. So let's go ahead. We're going to do number 13. So they gave us this angle. And I know that we're looking for the opposite. And then they gave me my hypotenuse. All right, so I'm going to be using sine. So I'm going to do sine, and I'm going to put my angle in there, which is 44. equals my opposite, which is x, over my hypotenuse, which is 20. So kind of the way I teach people to solve for these is think about it as cross multiplying, right? If I did like sine of 44 over 1, you could turn anything into a fraction, just put a 1 underneath it. Like this, I could cross multiply and I get sine, or 20 sine of 44 equals 1x, or just x. So then I can go ahead and plug this into my calculator. All right. So I do 20. Oh, I should actually pull it up on here, I guess. 20 sine of 44 is going to give me 13, let's see, nearest tenth. So we'll round that to 13.9. So x is 13.9 here. Let's see, we gotta minimize this. Beautiful. All right. So let's go ahead and try another one. So they gave us this angle here, which is 25, and I have my opposite, and I'm solving for my hypotenuse. So I'm still going to be using sine here. So we've got sine. Actually, let's make me a little bit tinier there. So we're going to do sine of 25 equals my opposite, which is 11, over my hypotenuse, which is x. So then we're going to go ahead and do that cross multiplying. Remember, cross multiply and divide. Now, sometimes you're just gonna have to cross multiply. Sometimes you're gonna have to divide. And maybe write this down, because I remember last year when I taught this, this helped out a lot of people. If the x is on the bottom, you're gonna be dividing, and you'll see why. If the x is on top, all you have to do is cross multiply, and then you're done. All right. So we end up with, actually here, we'll do sine over 25 equals 11 over x. And then you end up with x times sine of 25 equals 11. So then to get the x by itself, I need to divide both sides by sine of 25. Do you see how we have to do that division there? So we end up with x equals 11 divided by sine of 25. So again, if the x is on the bottom, you're going to be doing division like this. So we do 11 divided by sine of 25. And we should get 26, it's going to be 26.0. Awesome. So let's go ahead, we'll do one more. So if we look at number 15, I've got this angle, I've got my opposite, and I've got my adjacent. All right, so we're going to need tangent. Tangent of 63 equals my opposite, which is 11, over my adjacent, which is x. We'll do the cross multiply thing and we get x. Oops. Tangent of 63 equals 11. Then we have to divide. Why do we have to divide? Well, of course, we got the x on the bottom. We're going to end up dividing on the end there. All right, and you should get 11. X equals 11 divided by tangent of 63. X divided by tangent of 63 equals 5.6 is our answer here. So I'm going to show you guys real quick what happens when you don't have it in degree mode. Let's say you forgot to move it into degree mode and you just plug that in. You would get a totally different answer. You end up with 64.8. So you need to make sure, like I said, that you are in the correct mode, which is degree mode. So again, to do that, you go to mode on your calculator, and you're going to go down, go to degree, click enter, and then you can quit out of there. All right, so make sure you are in degree mode.